All right, y'all, we got another video here. We are talking about some parts that we got for a couple different builds, and we even got Ben here. Ben, I'm going to rope you into this video so we can talk about these parts. You guys know we use T&D Machine products, rocker arms on the Black Sheep. They work great. We got 2 sets. I got a set of them for the Black Sheep, a set of them for the Salty Chicken, and we got 2 more sets here today. And look at these beautiful rocker arms. We were having a slight issue with the rocker arms on Chris's Corvette, and you can see the difference a little bit right here. Slightly offset with the adjuster. Yeah, there you could really see it. Look at the difference right here. See the difference? See how it's offset? So we're running a set of PRC 247 hip heads on Chris's Corvette. It has the Black Sheep bottom end. So it's really a Black Sheep engine with a cathedral port style head. Great running motor. It'll probably make, Ben, what do you say? It'll probably make 16, 17, 1800 horsepower if we...
Somewhere in that range with those turbos.
If we decide to turn it up, I mean, it'll make it. The bottom end's aluminum rotted Dragon Slayer crank, Whitesco fully skirted piston. Yeah, I mean, it'll make it. So when I got the heads from PRC, they said that they run a stock LS1 style rocker arm, which is very common for a cathedral port head. A standard, what do you say? A standard non-canted valve cathedral port head.
Yeah, and you start canting and splaying the valves.
Then you get into something like that.
You get all crazy, but...
So they said to run the standard one, and I'm not talking shit on PRC or Texas Speed by any means. I'm just saying, for what we're doing, obviously, we're not running stock configuration applications. Stuff's quite a bit different. We're trying to run the biggest push rod we can in there, and we're running into an issue where one of them was kind of rubbing up against the head, which really isn't the biggest issue. I'd say it's pretty...
You can do a little... You have to cut off, obviously, but you can do some machine work with a...
Well, even like Manton push rods on their website, they pretty much say, if your push rod's rubbing on your cylinder head, don't call us. Yeah. It's a common thing. It happens when you run these big push rods.
If it's rubbing hard, take them off and clearance it.
Yep.
Or if not, don't worry about it.
So we were having another issue where we kept... Was it the intake push rod? The push rod for the intake? So the intake rocker arm, the push rod would literally try to bust out of the adjuster, and it would kind of push the adjuster over and get into the body of the rocker arm, and it'd come off. You'd have a miss. It'd sound like hell. If you guys remember the first video of us first starting it up, when we were trying to crank the car up, that's exactly what happened.
2 of them, or 3.
Well, we've been through a total of 4.
Yeah.
So we've been through a total of 4 rockers, and it would just... It ran great on the dyno, it was fine, but I think after it sits around for a while and you go to crank it, I don't know if it binds up or if it gets sticky or what, but we'd have the issue after it sits.
I think what happens is when you go to crank it up, if it fires over real quick, it's the like almost like assembly lube. It's like tacky, so it like almost like sticks the push rod to either the lifter or the rocker arm, and it causes like a little quick jump, and that's literally all it needs to take away. And you're talking about like 10,000ths of metal, because it's already, by that point, it's already worn the edge of that filter away.
Essentially, it's not going in the center of it. So a lot of guys with the PRC heads, they run a stock style rocker, not a shaft mount adjustable rocker. They run a stock style rocker arm, and they have no issues with it. I think they run a little bit smaller push rod as well, so it has a little bit more room and a smaller cam. So we kind of are like maxed out on everything, and I think that's the only reason why it was showing itself. So called up my guy Sheldon at T&D, and he's like, dude, not a problem. I got a set, like, I know exactly what they need. You just tell me go, and we'll make them. I kid you not, in like 4 or 5 days, Sheldon calls me like, hey, these rocker arms are done, and they look absolutely awesome. So as you can see, the difference here is where this adjuster would be dead center in the body on the standard ones, like we're using Speedmaster rocker arms, very cheap rocker arm, but it's LS1, so we know that, it doesn't take a standard LS1, so we can go out and get some badass ones. They have it offset in the body here, and this is going to line up absolutely perfect. So this should alleviate any issues we got going on with the push rod jumping off of the rocker arm. So that's going to be very good, because it's not a good issue to have.
Now we can see what kind of room we've got, and we can put a real set of push rods in there now.
Yeah, because we actually went to smaller so it would fit in there.
We just had some push rods that were like, that happened to be a workable length. The length of the push rod was, it was in the range we needed, so we already had them. It was convenient, and they're just, what 5/16 diameter,
Yep.
80 wall chrome ollie. Like they are currently operating, but that's not.
It's not ideal.
That's not what we put in there.
Yep.
If we were like doing it from scratch.
We got like big ass push rods.
They're bigger than 3/8.
Yeah, they're massive.
What's bigger than 3/8?
There's some nice ones too. Who makes them? Is it like not Smith Brothers? Is it?
They're Manton.
Are they Manton? Yeah, I mean they're nice. That's what we run in the Black Sheep. That's what we like to run everything. We pretty much run a hydraulic roller. We run a hydraulic roller camshaft with a solid roller top end. Is pretty much what it is. I mean, the spring is almost the same as a solid roller, but not quite there. So we're gonna put these on Chris's vet, the Silverback Z06, and it should be ready to go. I think we're about ready to go back to the dyno. So we're going to put these on, get the valves adjusted and everything set up, and then we're going to head back to the dyno and be able to turn it up. We were limited there to making like 1,200 horsepower, and we think we got everything figured out. So we're going to put the beans to it, make some big power, go to the track, explode the rear diff. Mm-hmm. That's the game plan. So going over here, we got the heads for my 460 cubic inch LS motor, and this right here is a Frankenstein F110S. It's a badass cathedral port cylinder head. So, as you guys can see, it is cathedral port, and the valves are a little bit different setup here. If I stand the head straight up, you can see the size. For a cathedral port head, it runs a valve that is about the same size as an LS7 head. So not super common to see one like that. This is an extremely badass head. Ben, you're a big numbers guy. Flow-wise for a cylinder head, are you happy with the flow of this head?
Yeah, they flow good. They flow real good. They flow like on the flow bench that Frankenstein uses. It's kind of like our dyno. It's not like they say on there like a regular, the 600, which is the model everybody else buys, flows like 10 to 15 CFM more.
Yep.
And they use the one that's the disappointer.
Yes.
And it still flows like these. I think flow at least 400 CFM at like 700 or 800 lift, if not more.
So I mean, it's a pretty nice setup.
They're 265 cc intake runners, so that's about. I mean, will you buy a trick flow like Gen X LS3 or LS7 head? They're about 265 cc.
So for cathedral port, this should make some steam. And you like the cathedral port because it has a whole lot more velocity. Yeah. There's a big conversation online. There's a bunch of groups that say cathedral port's better than square port. Square port's dumb and lazy, and cathedral port has a bunch of velocity. And then they say that the square port makes bigger horsepower numbers. But
very simply put, if you take two 2000 Trans Ams and put them next to one another, and you've got like a 408 in both of them, mm-hmm. and one has LS3 heads and the other one has some like aftermarket, like
a trick flow 245,
like a 225 or 235 cathedral port head.
Yep.
The car with the LS3 heads on a dyno is probably going to show more power, but it's going to be like at the very tip top.
Mm-hmm.
But you put them in a race on the road from like a roll, the car with the cathedral port heads is going to destroy.
More usable power.
Yeah, it's all mid-range, hard-hitting, like right now kind of power, where the LS3s kind of have to build up.
So with this, we should have the best of both worlds. We should have the flow numbers of a good flowing head.
You got enough flow for the power you want to make, and then you got that like boom from down low.
The velocity.
Yeah.
So obviously, no stock rocker arms are going to work with this. So again, I talked to my guy Sheldon at T&D, and he's like, dude, not a problem. Send me the head. So I literally sent him this head, and no questions asked, they made me a set of rocker arms. Now, I know what you guys will say. These rocker arms look kind of funny. They're all crooked, and that is because the valves are not in like a factory location. They literally can't. Is it canted valve?
So I'm not sure
if it's technically a canted valve.
Canted valve is where they take the valves that are normally straight up and down, and they tip them outward.
This might not be canted, but they definitely change the location of the valve.
They have, like, splayed is when they take they have different valve angles for each.
They're pretty much just cheating to get the biggest valve in there.
Yeah, they've just reconfigured where the valves are located and the valve angle in reference to the deck in order to get what they want out of it.
And look at this. You take these. Now, these are the rocker arms. I sent them this head. They made me a set of rocker arms for each cylinder head. There
you go. So down that down, and then down that down, and you're on there.
And look at that. This one's going to be a solid roller setup, so these rockers are necessary. It's definitely necessary to have an adjustable rocker on a solid roller setup. Look at that. God, that just looks crazy for an LS, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen many LS heads that have... I mean, every LS head I look at, it's either got stock rocker arms or, a stock style. Even the Black Sheep, we got billet steel rockers, but they're not turned sideways. The valve angle's not changed. I mean...
I like the SB2 valve cover.
Yeah, it's a whole lot bigger.
Yeah. It's simple and it looks good. But yeah, look, you can even see if you look, like this tie bar sits flat on that stand, and this one, this edge is up and this edge is down, so that rocker is turned this way.
Yeah, it's definitely got some stuff done to her. So yeah. I'm excited. This head's going on a 460 cubic inch LSX, 14-to-1 compression, solid skirted piston, aluminum rod, Dragon Slayer crank. It's going to be a bad son of a gun, run on alcohol with a blower for now. And Ben and I have been talking. We might just have to make this a turbo motor.
Yeah, they've taken that. I think it is a canted valve. I think they've canted the exhaust valve away to be able to put a larger intake seat in there, because they've made the intake runner so big that they're saying now we've made it so big we need a bigger intake valve to take advantage of this big port.
Yeah.
So, but they're saying between the room between the two of them, the gap is nothing anymore.
So they had to
move this one away to make this one bigger.
Well, I think they're sick. We're gonna run these up TCAM. I think they got just about everything else they need. And hold on. I think they got just about everything they need to put the engine together. They're just waiting on these rocker arms, waiting on valves and springs. So we should have everything there. That's a nice looking head.
They'll do all the stuff they want to do to it.
Yep, we can get this top fuel hooped, and
the chambers and stuff.
I'm stoked about this. This is a bad son of a gun. This head is set up for bore. I think it's a bore bigger than a 4150. 4150. Yeah, so it's not. You're not going to see this head out on a lot of people's cars. And this is also a different one. It's the F110S, so something different there. But I'm excited about it. It should be a bad son of a gun. I'm up in the air whether we're going to make it a solid roller turbo motor or a solid roller blower motor, because I think this is going to be way overkill for that truck.
Yeah, at least until you get to the point where it's like slammed on the ground. It's got a 9-inch in it and 4-link rear ladder bars and a good cage and everything like that.
And then we got another.
Be able to take advantage of much. 1,000 horsepower will be enough to do
anything.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And
this motor's.
This thing makes 800 horsepower without a blower on it.
Yeah, and this is a solid. Again, you put a turbo on it, you put a nice forced induction, it's 98, you make 2,000 horsepower all day.
Yeah.
All day long.
The jack on this thing, look how thick the deck is.
Yeah, you could tell. This thing's just a unit.
Yeah, that's huge. It's got a ton of clamping force, and you can tell by looking at just the deck surface here, where, I guess, yeah, it has been cut, but you can look just down into the metal, and you can tell that the stuff is made out of, really thick, dense aluminum.
This ain't Chinesium.
No, this aluminum is not gonna like some of the stock or cheaper heads,
when you tighten the bolt down, it'll flex.
Summit brand heads, yeah, basically tighten the
head. It gets tight right around here and then not here.
But it'll still bend the metal and push out and escape in between here and here, and the thinner the deck is too, the more weeble and wobbly it is.
So I think these are awesome. If you need some heads, talk to Jarrett Frankenstein. If you need some rocker arms, Sheldon at T&D. And if you need anything done to your motor, or if you just want to take your motor and have Kevin do all that, Kevin will literally handle everything. It's a one-stop shop. So go to tcamperformance.com.